right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. It's going to be an overview of Reclaim, walking through the features, what you can do with the app, and breaking down some of the core concepts of Reclaim. There is a Q&A section. If you leave any questions there, I'll periodically review it and we can go through any questions that anyone has. Otherwise, I'm going to share my screen and we can get started. Whether you're new to Reclaim, if you just signed up, or if you are an existing user that's just looking to learn more of the foundation of what Reclaim can do, we're just going to be walking through an overview of all the features, actions that you can take on your smart Reclaim events, and break down all of the core concepts. So this is sort of the first view that you'll see is the planner. The planner is your calendar overview of the week with all of your smart events and any synced events that you have from other calendars, which we'll go over as well. But this is sort of your hub where you can stay on top of your weekly plan. All of your Reclaim features are here in this sidebar. Let's start with habits. Habits are our most popular feature, and they are a great way to make flexible time for your recurring routines. Now, the thing with Reclaim is that it creates a time-blocked plan for your week, but the advantage, if you've ever done time blocking manually, while it's great for productivity and building out a very concrete plan about your priorities, it doesn't allow for much flexibility. So when something comes up or priorities change, you have to manually reshuffle your whole calendar to make it work again. And Reclaim automates this whole process by automatically building out your weekly plan around all the priorities that you give Reclaim, and stays open to changes. When something does change, as they do, you can't have a static week. If a new priority comes up or a meeting takes over a certain day that you weren't expecting, Reclaim automatically adjusts your entire calendar to adapt to your new priorities. And habits are a great place to start because they allow you to make recurring time for the things that you want to get done, whether that's personal routines like getting exercise in or meditating, or work routines like getting weekly report done, or scheduling focus time regularly throughout the week so you have enough time to actually get your task work done. You can essentially build out a habit for anything that you want. So this is sort of the habits page. We have templates up at the top that can help you get started with ideas for habits that you want to set up. But essentially all your habits live here. Another thing with Reclaim is that you have a lot of control over what you can prioritize. So here in the center, you have this line where you have your high priority habits above and your low priority habits below. And these are separated by whether Reclaim will schedule them ahead of tasks or not. So my high priority habits will schedule before task work, which we'll go over then as well. And then my low priority habits are sort of, I'd like to get these done, but if my task load is really heavy, these are the habits I want to make sure I have time for, and these are the ones that I can set aside on really busy weeks. So you can stack rank your habits by dragging and dropping them to tell Reclaim which ones are your highest priority, and make edits to all your existing habits. So let's walk through creating a new habit, and all of the forms for creating new smart events with Reclaim are very intuitive, and they offer a lot of flexibility. So it's not as concrete as, okay, I want to have lunch at 12 o'clock every day. Reclaim gives you a lot of flexibility around, okay, what's the range that I want to eat lunch in? How aggressively do I want to defend lunch in my calendar? It just gives you a lot more control around how these habits or any Reclaim events schedule in your calendar according to what's most important to you. So let's start by creating a lunch habit, because that's something that most people want to have time for. Giving your habit a title, very simple, emojis. This is how the event will show on your calendar. Do the bento box, that's our classic. Now you select your color and category based on, again, how you want this event to show on your calendar. You can set it as a personal or a work routine, which is great as well for building out, your personal habits that you want to make time for, and having work routines that are recurring as well, so you always have time for those. Now here we kind of get into this flexibility that I was talking about. Creating a time window for when you want Reclaim to be able to schedule this habit allows not only Reclaim to have more flexibility around, okay, when can I fit this in around everything else you have going on, but gives you a little bit more control over when these habits schedule around your preferences. So having a start time and an end time, for example, I don't want to eat lunch any earlier than 11 a.m. That doesn't make any sense to me. Ideal time, I'd like to eat lunch at noon. A good time to eat lunch, and then I really don't want to be eating lunch, until 6 p.m. My cutoff will be 3 p.m. if my days ever get really busy and my 12 p.m. ideal time isn't available. And Reclaim will try to schedule it around your ideal time when possible, but this gives it a little bit more flexibility around how busy your days get. Now again, duration offers that same range, where on a minimum busy days, I want to have at least 20 minutes, eat lunch, and I really don't need 2 hours for lunch. I could go for 1 hour max lunch if that time is available. Then you set your frequency and your cadence, so you can set habits to be weekly, daily, and up to quarterly. And even set how many times per week you want to have your habit. I just need to schedule it Monday through Friday. I don't need my lunch scheduled on the weekend. And then start date, you can actually set your start date to be ahead if you wanted to plan for something in that way. But in my case, I just want to start as soon as possible so that Reclaim immediately starts trying to find time for my lunch habit. Then you also have a little bit of control around privacy for your habits, especially for your personal habits that you don't necessarily want people having a lot of insight to. You can show busy with no additional details. In my case, I'm happy for my team to know when I'm taking lunch. So I just go with this. You can put in a custom message as well, but there's a default there. And these are all the rules that Reclaim needs to start scheduling your habits. So you can hit save here and Reclaim will start finding time for lunch around these preferences. There are advanced options that give you a little bit more control. So let's take a look at those. Time defense is a really unique and powerful tool for habits, where you can essentially tell Reclaim how aggressively you want it to defend this habit on your calendar. And there's a really big range here from always free, meaning that the habit is, ideally, if there's time, I'll make time for it and I'll do it. But if more important things come up, happy to skip it. And then you have always busy, which will automatically mark the habit busy no matter how busy your days are. This is a routine that you absolutely want to make sure that you have time for. And it's there's a range there. I'm going to mark it as always busy because that's a high priority habit to me. I want to make sure that no matter how busy my days get, I always have time for lunch. You can set notifications to send for your routines. These are based off your Google Calendar settings, so you'd have to change those there. For your collaborative routines, you could CC others. This just includes them in the habit, doesn't necessarily send them any notifications. Now, avoiding duplicate events is a neat feature, especially for something like lunch, where you might have an event that comes up in the day that voids your habit or it voids you needing to have that habit schedule. So in the case of lunch, you can add keywords that Reclaim will scan your calendar for to know whether to if you actually need to schedule that habit. So in the case of lunch, you could do lunch meeting, lunch, restaurant, and any other keywords you could think of. Reclaim will automatically scan my calendar for these words, and if I have a lunch meeting, say for work, come up on a Tuesday, Reclaim will know that I don't need to schedule my lunch routine for that day. You can also decide to automatically decline interruptions, like an out-of-office event, where anyone who tries to book a meeting with you gets an automatic decline, and you can enable that and leave a message. But in this case, that's set. And you hit save, and Reclaim gets to work scheduling your habit around everything else that you have going on your habit in your week. So under the habit details, you'll see upcoming events for that habit, schedules 12 weeks in advance. So you always have that perfect plan working into your plan, no matter how your weeks change. All right, so habit, move that up here, and it lives here with all my other routines and recurring instances, whether they're personal or work. You can also disable habits if you wanted to tell Reclaim to stop scheduling them for right now, but keep the settings for future purposes. You can also delete habits, of course. Once you delete them, there's no way to recover them. So if you don't necessarily need a habit to be scheduling at that time, disabling it is a better way to manage that in terms of best practice. So that's your habits. Now your habits will schedule, and we kind of mentioned this going through here. Let me check if there's any questions. All right. Now when looking at your week, and it's Thursday, so this isn't a great example, but let's go to next week. In the planner, you'll notice that your smart events, including habits, will schedule either as solid time blocks or with a dashed outline. And this speaks to a very core concept of how Reclaim works, where we talk about free and busy a lot. In terms of in the calendar world, events can be marked as free or busy, meaning that busy being it's locked down, that time is secured and it's not going to get moved around. And free events having a little bit more flexibility to be rescheduled within the preferences that you've already set before there's not enough time to get them done. So if you look at my calendar for next week, I have a couple here. This is a habit that I have, blog linking opportunities. You see it with a dashed outline, which means that around my preferences for that habit, there's still opportunities for it to move around to a different place if something else comes up at this time, for example. And then lunch is blocked out every single day because I did say that I wanted that to be most defensive and always be marked busy. And Reclaim will automatically flip your events to busy, which gives it that powerful flexibility that manual time blocking doesn't necessarily give you, where it keeps your schedule as open as possible for as long as possible to accommodate any changes to your priorities. And then as time draws near or you're running out of time or other opportunities for it to reschedule to, Reclaim automatically locks that time down. So you always have, at the end of the day, that time defended to get your routines done, your tasks done, and whatever else. Now, managing your habits on the planner, super simple. You can drag and drop events to reschedule into a new time. When you do drag and drop events, they automatically lock to secure that as your now preferred time. You can extend times for habits. This will only change the specifications for that instance, so it won't change future scheduled habits. But say if I needed a little bit of extra time for this week's testimonial update, I could adjust that manually. Then there's a few other options here. In the planner, you have the sidebar that you can open. It's collapsible, where you'll also see your priority habits and low priority habits around your task list. Again, scheduling before tasks and after tasks. You can click to open any of these from the planner view to make edits or just see upcoming and past instances. You can also start or stop a habit even if it's not currently scheduled. So say I had a little bit of time to write for the blog right now, I could start this habit and it would automatically adjust my calendar to say, okay, well, she's working on blog writing now, which gives you, again, that little bit of control while Reclaim builds out your perfect work week around your priorities. You're always in control to make those fine-tune adjustments because you obviously know what works best for you and your calendar. So that's really managing your habits on the planner view. Right-clicking a habit instance gives you a few more options where you can open up the details again. In this case, it's locked, but you can lock or unlock a habit. You can also choose to reschedule it. Pressing this opens it up to rescheduling to another time or day. Or you can skip this instance altogether. So this is a weekly habit. Say, okay, I don't really have anything to do here. I could skip it for that week, and Reclaim will automatically remove that habit for your cadence and then just schedule the next one out. Okay, let's move on to tasks. And you can already see some tasks scheduled on my calendar here. And in a very similar view to the habits tab, you have all of your tasks that live in this task tab. One thing that's a little different with tasks that you have these 4 states at the top: open, scheduled, done scheduling, and marked done. And these are the 4 filters that Reclaim schedules, organizes your tasks into. So let's walk through those real quick. Your open tasks, which is sort of the default view that it opens up to, is all of your tasks that are currently scheduling on your calendar and that are marked done. So this is just like a big overview of all the tasks on your list, when they're scheduled for, how much time is left for the task, and when they're due by. Again, you have this start button that you can start a task or stop or restart if it's active at any point to adapt your schedule if things change. You can prioritize your task list by due date here in a single click. You can open these up to make edits to your individual tasks. Your scheduled tasks are tasks that actually have upcoming time blocks on your calendar that are blocked out, which you can already see. And then done scheduling tasks are the tasks that have run through the time that you said you needed for that task, but it's sort of in a limbo where Reclaim is waiting for you to confirm, okay, yes, I did get this done, or no, I didn't get around to this. So you can manually either mark it as done by hitting this check mark over here, or add more time to say, I didn't really have enough time to finish this, I need another hour. And Reclaim will move that to being a scheduled task and get it back on your calendar for you. And then your marked done tasks are all of the tasks that you have manually marked as done and have completed, which is nice because you have a full history of all of your tasks that you've done with the option to add time for them if you need to get it back on your calendar. So this is where your tasks live. Creating a task, super simple. You have this new task button at the top in any page, and you can also hit shortcut C from anywhere in the app to pull up this little form. And tasks, again, require a few simple rules to get that scheduled. Let's see. All right, I'll be uploading this webinar to YouTube. Let's say I need 1 hour. Here you can schedule whether it's for your personal hours or working hours, which we'll go over in a second as well, but I want this to be during my working hours. In terms of a time range or duration range, you have this option to set a max and min duration, which is more appropriate for, say, longer time projects. Say if you had something that you needed 7 hours for, you could say, hey, I don't want to spend any less than an hour on it at a time, and put that in the min here. And at max, I don't want to spend more than 3 hours at a time because I'll go crazy. And you can give Reclaim sort of very specific rules about how it's going to break it down, because chances are you don't have a 7-hour time block in your day to get it all done in one go. And Reclaim will break down larger tasks across your time frame that you do have available around everything else. And then you can set it again to start out at a certain time or between now and your due date. Let's say Friday. I don't know that I have any time, but we'll see. And then hit save, and Reclaim automatically finds time for it in your calendar and gets that scheduled. In this case, it's going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. And here we again have the time that I have left for it and when it's due for a great overview. So if we look at the planner, your tasks will also live here in this side bar for you to have an overview when you're looking at your calendar. You can filter them by task state. Reclaim will also highlight any overdue or at-risk tasks in your list based on due date, which is great when you have like a really long task list here and it's hard to keep an overview, giving you sort of a highlight of what's coming up and what's running out of time. In this case, you can also prioritize them by stack ranking them, by telling Reclaim, hey, this is actually way more important. Can you schedule this before anything else? And if you have reshuffled your task list endlessly, or you've made a bunch of new ones, you can prioritize them by due date in a click, and it will automatically realign your tasks and your scheduling according to what's due first or what you're running out of time for. So that's your tasks. Same as habits, you can manage your tasks on your planner by dragging and dropping them, extending them, right-clicking a task. You have the same options, the quick actions for starting a task, viewing its details, locking it in place, or rescheduling it. Another neat feature in terms of managing them on your calendar is that you can sort of do quick actions that work for the planner and in Google Calendar. But if I drag a task into the past, Reclaim automatically says, oh, okay, she got this done, and marks it as done scheduling. In the same way, you can drag it back into the future or just delete the past instance, and Reclaim will say, okay, they didn't get to this, let's put it back on the calendar and open it up again. And Reclaim automatically, as you can see, starts readapting my schedule to fit around all these changes, whether they're manual or automated by doing something like rescheduling here. Any questions? Okay. So that's tasks in a really simple nutshell. Now, Reclaim is a smart assistant for Google Calendar. So everything that you set up in Reclaim automatically syncs to Google Calendar. And if we look at my calendar here, all of my changes are reflected in my calendar. And like I said, you have these same actions for your tasks and habits as you do in the planner, where you can drag them into the past to mark them as done scheduled. You can delete a task from the past to get time for it back on your calendar, to tell Reclaim that you didn't get it done. drag and drop events on Google Calendar, and it will automatically sync to Reclaim, working bi-directionally there. So no matter what your workflow is or where you like to manage your calendar, you can set it up and manage it in any way. Now, where in the planner you have these solid time blocks or the dashed outline time blocks to show whether things are free and busy, in Google Calendar, you have an additional emoji here, which is a shield to show that something is marked as busy, or a free emoji to show that it's currently marked as free and still flexible to changes. So that's just a little difference. Here you can see my lunch habit is marked busy automatically on every day, because I did mark it as aggressively defended. So is my blog writing time. Habits are really great too, where tasks are really awesome at making sure that you have time for your changing to-dos every week and actually scheduling time on the calendar to get them done. Habits are a great way to make sure that you have time defended for more vague things too, like focused work. If you have a really meeting heavy calendar, making sure that you have a couple hours a day scheduled to just work on your to-do list or get some smaller tasks done. You could do that with habits to sort of have that default time defended to have heads down work that's defended for meetings or getting overbooked in that way. Awesome. All right, let's move on to Smart One-on-Ones. We've sort of talked about how you make time for your personal routines and tasks, but Reclaim also has very powerful meeting features, and Smart One-on-Ones are a great one for this, especially for managers who have a lot of one-on-one meetings with direct reports or anyone who has recurring meetings with someone else on their calendar. It's a big time sink when two people with really busy calendars are trying to coordinate a time to meet, especially if it's on a recurring cadence. And Smart One-on-Ones automate this entire process, by allowing you to send a one-time invitation to set it up, and then automatically around the preferences that you set for this meeting, finds time on both people's calendar for them to meet. Because it's more important, say, that you have time to meet with someone every week, as opposed to it having to be on Tuesday at 2 o'clock every day or every week. And Reclaim really gives you that flexibility with these meetings as well, and automates the whole process, and gives both the organizer and the attendee a lot of control around rescheduling or skipping a cadence meeting or an instance of that Smart One-on-One. So here are my Smart One-on-Ones that I have existing. If you have existing one-on-one meetings on your calendar, Reclaim will detect them and make it really easy to automatically convert them into Smart One-on-Ones, which is really nice, so you don't have to set them up manually every time. To create a new Smart One-on-One, again, very simple form with a very similar layout as all the other ones. You can send a one-time meeting invitation via email, and you can do this with either another Reclaim user and also with non-users, which is very powerful. So giving an email address to whoever you wanted to connect with, adding a link to an agenda or rolling notes. You can optionally put in something here that links to the actual meeting event so that you always have access to it when the meeting comes around. And then here you also set your availability and preferences for when you want to have this meeting. So you can set the duration for however long you want it to be, and also the frequency with which you want this meeting to recur. So whether that's a daily meeting, a weekly meeting, and again, up to quarterly meetings, making sure that those are booked out in advance across both people's availability. Again, you have the option to start it out a certain time. And then you give Reclaim a few more options here. And we'll go over setting up your hours in a second, because we've seen a couple of those. But this is around your meeting hours. So you set your preferences for when you want to be available for meetings. And you can also specify certain days across mutual availability. So setting, again, the days that you want to be available for it, you can pick an ideal day or leave it open to Reclaim around both people's availability on that certain week. And then again, you have this range for a time frame. With the start time as the earliest you want that meeting to schedule, the latest, and your ideal time. You can add a video conferencing link with Meet or Zoom, or add a physical location if you are meeting somewhere, and then leave or send a note with your invitation to send that out. And that sends them a one-time invitation to get them set up, and then Reclaim automatically finds a time across both people's calendars to find time and make time for that meeting around all the preferences that you've set. And then again, looking at the planner, when you see your smart one-on-ones schedule, I don't have any left this week, but let's look at next week. I have a one-on-one here with Christy. It's currently marked as free, which means there's still a few openings around both of our availability to reschedule it if something else comes up on Monday. But you can right-click this task or the smart one-on-one as well to lock it in place for where it's at. Reschedule it, which is great considering that in this case, I'm not the organizer, Christy is. But as the attendee, I can still say, hey, on Monday, I'm actually not going to be in, and I can have the power to automatically reschedule it to another time or skip this instance altogether until next week when we meet. So if I hit reschedule, you can select whether you want it to be at another time that day, or another week. In this case, I'm going to go for another day, so I'm not available on Monday. And Reclaim is going to find a time that works for both of us and our availability around our meeting hours to connect next week. Okay, I'm going to go through these questions real quick because I didn't realize that they were already in there. I created a habit to check my emails, which I would like to do twice a day, Monday through Friday. Is there a way to do this? Yes. So this is actually a very common one. In this case, when you do have something that you want to do twice a day, they are separate habits, but we have a template for morning catch-up and afternoon catch-up, where you essentially set up two habits for both instances to schedule daily and make sure that you have time to check your email every day. So you'd have to set up two habits, morning catch-up, evening catch-up, or whatever you wanted to call them, and get those set up like that. I think that might even be in the template, catch-up. So we do a morning catch-up and evening catch-up. You could set up two to get those done. The shield symbol is the marked busy indicator in Google Calendar. So where in Reclaim in the planner, you have a solid time block that shows whether that event is marked busy as opposed to free. In Google Calendar, they're marked with a shield emoji or the free emoji to show you what's currently free and what's marked as busy already. There is a way to sync Asana with Reclaim, and we'll get into that with integrations here in a second. So we'll loop back around to that one. If you have something you want to achieve every Monday, would you just put that in as only available on a Monday? Right. So if you only wanted to do a habit to repeat weekly on Monday, you could set up that habit to schedule only on Mondays within your certain time frame on the weekly cadence, and Reclaim will find time on Mondays to get that in. When you do create habits that have more of a limited range like that, obviously selecting a higher defense setting would be better to make sure that you always have time for it if it's that important. Because when there is less of a range, obviously you have less flexibility to accommodate a really busy Monday, say. I hope that makes sense. If I have a habit that is weekly, on Thursdays at 9:30 a.m., how can I schedule that to rotate weekly? If you wanted it to be on a weekly cadence, you'd select the weekly frequency for that habit on Thursdays, and then you can limit your range for it to be at 9:30. In that case, so for me, for example, my blog writing habit, if I can pull that up real quick, I have it defended every morning from 8 to 10. And essentially I've just built that out with a really small range. We can actually just look at it. So I have my start time and end time with my ideal time. And then I have just a most defensive setting here so that I always have that time defended. And I also have my hours set around that to make sure that I have that time defended for focus work to write, which we'll go over next or once I get through these questions. Is it the same as scheduling links? I assume you're talking about smart one-on-ones, and they're not. Smart one-on-ones are specifically built out for your one-on-one meetings that are on a regular cadence, and we'll go over scheduling links right after this as well. Because there are two different and powerful meeting tools. Can we create subtasks? So currently there's no subtasks. This is something that a lot of users have asked for and that is in the works, but there's currently no way to schedule subtasks. I'll have to check on, someone asked any update on syncing public holiday calendars. I'll have to check on that one. when I upload this to YouTube tomorrow, I will have asked the product team and leave a note for an answer for that one, because I don't know. Let's take a look. So Smart One-on-One's having that covered. Let's take a look at scheduling links, which is our other meeting tool that's currently in beta, that just came out, which provides booking pages and meeting links to send to people to schedule one-off meetings. So whereas Smart One-on-Ones are built out specifically to find time across two people's busy calendars on a recurring basis, scheduling links are the meetings that you send, or the links that you send to book meetings that are, one-off ones. You can build out your booking pages and meeting links according to your preferences. And if you've used something like Calendly before, sort of the concept of sending a booking page to someone or saying, hey, here's my meeting link, pick a time that works for you. There was certain issues that kept coming up when people were using existing options on the market. One being that there wasn't enough flexibility where, say, okay, someone wants to meet with me and I have to send them a link and I'm not sure, whether they need half an hour or an hour, and you don't want to be rude and send someone too short of a meeting link. And just didn't give a lot of flexibility in that case. And the other issue was that there wasn't enough availability on your calendar. So if you had, a super packed calendar for like 3 weeks out and you send someone a meeting link, oh, here, grab the earliest availability, and your earliest availability was 3 weeks out, there's definitely a disconnect there. And there's a lot of people spoke up about it being rude to send people a meeting link. And Reclaim scheduling links really addresses both of those issues with two very unique features, and that is flexible durations and high priority links. So flexible durations, and these are your booking pages. You can build out scheduling links to match yours. These are just the 3 defaults that come once you onboard for scheduling links. One of the unique things that Reclaim scheduling links offer is a duration option. So I could send a single link with 3 different duration options, up to 3. You could also do 2, with edited duration. So I could say, hey, here's my link, grab a time that works for you. And the invitee can choose whether they need 15 minutes with me or 45 minutes with me, which gives them a little bit more control around how much time they need and also when they can get in with you. Obviously, 45 minutes are going to be harder to come by. And whether they actually need 45 minutes, they might be happy to wait for a week. But if they can get in for 30 minutes tomorrow, say, then that is a better option. It just gives a little bit more flexibility again. Setting a scheduling range, and offering priority. So this is the other advanced feature of Reclaim scheduling links, where you can send links with normal priority, which actually shows your availability the way that it is on your calendar. And then you have the option for high priority links, which offers your maximum availability by showing your tasks, Smart One-on-Ones, and habits, essentially all your Reclaim Smart events as available times. So if you do have a super packed calendar every week and you have a meeting that you're happy to move anything for, you can send a high priority link, and it doesn't show them whether you send a high priority link. Obviously that would be, a little rude. But it automatically shows those events as open times for them to book. And if they do book a meeting over, say, a task event or a habit event, Reclaim will automatically move that to another time to accommodate and moves your schedule around. So you don't have to go and manually delete events in your calendar before you send a meeting link to make sure that someone can get in with you. So hopefully that shows a little bit of the difference of Smart One-on-Ones and scheduling links. These are great for getting a one-off meeting on the books, sending meeting links to let someone else choose a time with you for what works for them around your availability, but doesn't necessarily check other people's availability to book that meeting with you. So they're just slightly different tools and different ways of booking meetings more efficiently. Okay. With scheduling links, you can build out your booking page to be unique. So this is what mine would look like. These are again, like I said, the 3 templates that are already built out. You can customize these, add video conferencing links. You can also build out unique booking pages for certain specific instances. So building out groups of booking pages. So say this is sort of my default one, but then I might have one for client meetings, one for interviews, essentially customizing different booking pages. You also have team links, which are great when you have other people on your Reclaim team that you want to check everyone's availability for to get like a meeting with multiple people. Say if someone wanted a meeting with the marketing team at Reclaim, we could send them a scheduler link that checks both me and Christy's availability to get that time scheduled. And then those live in your team links, and you can also build out your team based on your Reclaim team to get more functionality there. Let's go over scheduling hours real quick here, because I feel like we've mentioned that a couple times, and especially when it comes to the meeting preferences, you do again have that control around how and when Reclaim schedules your meetings, whether that's smart one-on-ones or scheduling links. So you have the option to set up your hours. You have working hours, personal hours, and meeting hours, where you can build out the days that you're available for certain events, for Reclaim to schedule certain events on your calendar in that time frame. So in terms of working hours, you have your solo work tasks, synced events from calendars, and your scheduling links that you choose for that meeting hour. You can build out certain days that you want to be available, times. You can build out 2 time ranges, essentially giving you a lot of flexibility there. Personal hours are for your personal tasks and scheduling links that you share for those hours. And then your meeting hours are when your smart one-on-ones and scheduling links with this meeting hour selected when you want to be available for Reclaim to schedule your smart one-on-ones, and building out a unique time frame and the days that you want to be available there too. So you don't want to be available for meetings during the morning. You can set this to be 12 p.m. and Reclaim won't schedule any smart one-on-ones before 12 p.m. Again, giving you that flexibility to build out a calendar that aligns with your own priorities and the way that you want to do things. So just a little bit more control there. Looking through the rest of the Reclaim settings, let's go through the general settings, because there's a few options here too that again give you a little bit more control on fine-tuning how Reclaim schedules and builds out your weekly plan. Auto lock is a great feature. We've sort of talked about how Reclaim has this free busy switch to build out a flexible weekly plan for you around all your smart events. You can also set up auto lock for tasks to automatically lock either at the start of the day or at the start of the week. So say you don't want any rescheduling happening the day of, Reclaim can automatically lock your day in place at the start of the day, so everything is set the way that it is scheduled at that time. Or you can do this at the start of the week if you want even more predictability around your schedule. You can do the same thing for habits and tasks, whether you want them to auto lock. And then for your smart one-on-ones and scheduling links, you can also set time intervals, which gives you a little bit more control there too, whether you're going to be available every quarter hour, every half hour, on the hour, just fine-tuning how you prefer meetings to be scheduled. Default task durations. This is a great way to build out the basics for how Reclaim schedules your tasks without having to give a lot of information. So for example, in my case, my default task duration is 1 hour. If I don't specify a time that I need, Reclaim will automatically schedule it for an hour, the hours that you want them to schedule in. The event duration, again, how we talked about having sort of a max and min time to work on something. Start date and due date. In my case, I have it scheduled to 3 days out. If I don't specify a due date, that's sort of the time frame that Reclaim sets for me. Visibility, how you want your tasks to show on your calendar when other people are looking at it. And here's another really cool one that came out recently, where we talked about how task dates are in done scheduling. Tasks are have run down through the time that you said you needed. They're kind of in this limbo state where you either mark them as done or add more time. And it used to be that you did have to manually make a decision there to tell Reclaim if you actually completed it or not, which you have the option here for too. You can also schedule it to automatically add back to your calendar after a set amount of time, or mark it done for you after a set amount of time. So depending on how your workflow goes, if you don't necessarily mark things as done as you're going through them, if you don't do anything, Reclaim will automatically mark as done after a certain amount of time, which is a nice way to just automate that process again, according to your preferences. Is there any option to set up security on my booking page? Have it available for a specific group of people. If you mean sending it to a specific group of people, creating link groups like I talked about, where you have certain meeting links that you can share a booking page to for specific instances, there's, you can limit what kind of meetings people are shared access to with your booking pages. You don't necessarily have to only send your main one. You could send one that only has, one option, or even send just a single link. So if we look at scheduling links real quick, you don't necessarily have to share your entire booking page. You can also just share a link to a specific meeting to have that control. And then the last thing that I want to go over in settings is our buffer time and breaks, which Reclaim is all about productivity and time blocking, and it's great to have a solid plan for your day, but sometimes working back to back all day long isn't the most productive option or sustainable in that way. So you do have the option to build out automatic breaks as well, either after your tasks and habits. You also have travel time that automatically schedules after events with a location so that you can get to where you're going and back. Reclaim, for privacy reasons, doesn't actually check the location of your event, so you do have to set a default duration for travel in that case. And then decompression time is another very powerful tool, especially with meeting fatigue on the rise and with how many virtual meetings people sit through in a week. Setting decompression time automatically puts a break after any meetings that Reclaim identifies with a video conferencing link. And you can write a message that sort of shares to your team or other people that you're taking a break, or just mark it as busy, and set sort of a custom time frame, again, to build out your day the way that you want it to be, where you're not necessarily someone who wants to be in back-to-back meetings. You could build out a larger decompression time in that case. All right, integrations, because someone asked about Asana too. Reclaim has native integrations to productivity apps and project management platforms that you're already using, including Slack, Zoom, and a bunch of project management platforms. So we currently have integrations to Todoist, Linear, Jira, ClickUp, and Asana, where you can build out a connection with connecting your accounts between Reclaim and your project management platform to sync your task lists from these project management apps right to your calendar as smart Reclaim events, which really bridges that gap of, okay, well, I have a bunch of tasks in Asana or Todoist, and I not necessarily needing to manually put them into Reclaim. Then you can create a sync that automatically schedules time for your task work across these apps. So you can build these all out under integrations and settings by connecting your accounts. And we do have other ones coming soon with Trello and Monday.com. And I don't personally have Asana, so I can't walk through that. But in my case, if I used to do it, I could literally add a task here. And in my case, label it with Reclaim. Add task. That's going to take a second to schedule, but it'll automatically schedule as a smart task in Reclaim and book it out in my calendar. Again, to bridge that gap of having like a to-do list and actually finding the time in your week to do it, which is a common thing that professionals deal with. Notion. Notion is another one that we have several users asking about. We don't currently have a native integration. That might be coming up down the line. There is a way to set up a Zap via Zapier for Notion, and we do have that on the blog post with details on how to set that up. Yeah. All right. Calendar sync is another one that we didn't really go over, but I'm going to just mention this quick too, because it's another very powerful and popular feature of Reclaim that allows you to sync multiple calendars and block out events across calendars to one calendar. So if you're someone who either, you might just have a personal calendar that you want to block out on your professional calendar, but if you're someone who has client calendars or are a freelancer with multiple calendars, or have a family calendar, whatever it is, you can sync all of your calendars to actually match your events and planning for the week to your true availability, and also avoid being double booked with a doctor's appointment or a family event or a personal commitment. Having that time blocked out on your work calendar with privacy settings, so not necessarily sharing all of the details of your personal commitment with your coworkers, but making sure that that time is defended, because if someone can't see that you have a doctor's appointment at 12 and they book a meeting with you, it's just an inconvenient way to manage your calendar, and Reclaim Calendar Sync makes it really easy to have that time blocked out either with details or without details, to make sure that you are actually making the most of your 24 hours, as opposed to trying to balance, two calendars without enough time. I don't know about make or integrally, but that's a good question. I'll make a note to ask the product team about that. Now, calendar sync is a great way to actually copy and block events from different calendars to one primary calendar. But you can also tell Reclaim to check your availability across other calendars without blocking time for those events on your primary calendar with connected calendars. Which will allow Reclaim to check whether you are or when you are available across different calendars and not schedule smart events during that time without it blocking out on your calendar, so that you can stay open to others viewing your calendar for meetings or collaboration, while minimizing how many times tasks and habits and smart one-on-ones get scheduled over when you're not busy on other calendars. In terms of managing all your smart events on Google Calendar and the Planner, we kind of went over that, and a lot of the functionality is very similar. We also have a free Google Workspace Reclaim add-on that you can download in the Google Workspace Marketplace, and it's also in the integrations page here, which makes it much easier to manage your Reclaim events from Google Calendar. And here in the sidebar, you'll have a little Reclaim tab that's very similar to the Planner view sidebar, with your tasks. Where's my cursor? With your tasks, priority habits, low priority habits, being able to start, make edits, reschedule, see upcoming and past instances, essentially giving you the functionality that you have in the Planner in Google Calendar. And again, it's free. If you do prefer to manage your calendar in Google Calendar, it makes it easy to manage all of your smart events with a little bit more control. And with the Google Calendar add-on, you also have all of your scheduling links that live in here, so that you have quick access to copy a URL to send it to someone. This also works in Gmail, so it's the same install. And the add-on then gives you the same option when you're writing an email to instantly add it to your in Composer to your email. You also have the option here, and I know someone talked about sort of having security when sending your booking pages for certain instances. You can also send a one-off custom link. So like working off this template, I can build out a little bit more specific details for a certain link that I can send to someone specifically. It won't be saved in your scheduling links. It's really like a one-off, like, oh, I want a quick meeting, but I only want to be available after this amount of time, or, whatever, minimizing the duration. Gives you that option to create a one-off link that's unique to those settings in that instance. Let's see. Are there any other questions? This is the last 10 minutes. If you have any other questions, pop those in there while I think of what I haven't talked about. yeah, I think we covered everything. Another neat one, if you want to customize your calendar colors, these are all of the Google colors. Reclaim does auto color code all of your events by identifying categories of events. So you have your categories here, and you can set certain colors for them just to have a better overview and a customized overview of how your calendar looks. And Reclaim does automatically color code it as well, so you don't have to manually go in and color code anything once you have it all set up. Let's see real quick here. So looping back to the Todoist integration. In this case, you can see here that my task from Todoist has scheduled as a Reclaim Smart task where I can do the same functions as I can with any other Reclaim tasks. It does link the source task here, and all of the integrations work a little bit differently. And we have a bunch of help documentation for each of the task integrations on getting set up and maximizing productivity. So each here, Asana has a bunch of documentation. Someone asked about that, but each one has specific documentation because each app works a little bit differently. Each integration is set up custom to that, to those requirements. But really easy to set up and a great way to merge your availability again and make sure that you always have time for the things you have to do across any apps. The Getting Started guide, if you are a new user, we have a Getting Started guide in the Help Center as well that really walks through like setting up all of the basics to get the most out of Reclaim from the beginning. So I highly recommend checking that out. Our YouTube channel also has a lot of tips and feature reviews and breakdowns, including webinars that we upload there for review. Another great resource to check out there. So in terms of embedding, someone else asked this earlier, I believe. There's currently no way to like iframe embed it, but I'm going to ask the product team about that because I've had a few questions about when that's coming up, but that's definitely something on the roadmap, just not right now. You can always reach the team if you have any questions in the help tab here, which opens all the chat. We have live support every day of the work week. So if you do have any questions, definitely check out the help docs and reach out to us to help you get set up. Hopefully this was helpful in giving, oh, we didn't go over stats. That's a quick one. Essentially seeing all of your tracked time across different categories to see where your time is spent every week. This is really helpful. For me personally, I like to review whether I was aligned with all of the things that I wanted to get done in the week so I can make changes to my plan moving forward. But essentially just gives you an overview of your productivity stats and how many meetings you spend time in, how many habits you made time for during the week. Just a great way to review your time spent every week. So check out our pricing page for details on all of our current plans, which is right here. We also have our discounts, our student discount and nonprofit discount applications here. Lots of FAQs on our pricing, both for teams and individual users. So that's all on the website. All of the features have breakdowns here too that we talked about. And the blog is a great place to check for resources on using Reclaim and other productivity and calendar hack content as well. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the team. We're always here and happy to help. And I hope that moving forward, you can build out a calendar that really works for you and your preferences. I feel like Reclaim is really powerful for that. That unique setting that you can build out your weekly plan for, as opposed to just blocking time out. It really does take into consideration how you want to be available, the times that you want to be available, and create a flexible plan so that you can be open to changes when they do come up, because they do. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who made it out to today's webinar. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more past webinars, productivity tips, calendar hacks, feature walkthroughs, and announcements from the Reclaim team. We host live webinars and demos with the Reclaim team every second Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. PT and every fourth Tuesday of the month at 8 a.m. PT, which you can register for down in the description as well. If there are any questions that weren't answered in today's webinar, leave them down in the comments and we'll get back to you. You can also always reach our support team online, and we're happy to help with any Reclaim questions. Hopefully this was helpful in getting you started. I'll put a bunch more resources in the description as well, including our Getting Started playlist on YouTube. But for today, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.